Very good. Okay. Well, 6 o'clock. I call this meeting in order. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, let's say pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next up on the agenda is public comment. Any public comment? Please do so.
Hi guys, it's Crystal. I just had a couple questions and I just want to put it out there to clear up. I noticed on tonight's agenda that the items that can be brought up during public comment are added to the agenda. Is that the new protocol to request time to speak if you want to overlap the suggested 5 minutes? I'm not trying to be snarky, I'm just asking a question. With that being said, it may be suggested that the 5 minutes that is held in the amount of time the public be held to 5 minutes. To allow someone to have agenda time to literally derail another member of your board, regardless of it being any of the three of you, is straight out disrespectful and extremely unprofessional. And with the agenda being approved to go out, the public holds everyone who voted yes on this week's agenda accountable for such disrespect. There have been many times that question things and ask questions via email and simple fact of parading it in public. I will ask, for example, Mr. Maher and I have exchanged several emails over time, and we've been able to respectfully communicate even if we don't agree. Some of us may not like every board member, and regardless of each other, the matter of each of you are elected in. You will not agree on everything. You can each educate one another if you just take time to listen to one another. This item on the agenda shows the childish behavior that this county is tired of. After this week's number, it clearly shows that Mrs. Clark is backed by her county, regardless of how many people you allow on the agenda to attack her or anyone else serving on this board. Her facial expressions are no different than the people who have spoken on other board members have facial expressions against us. We need you to use your time and effort in more pressing matters of importance, not to act like middle school children.
Okay. Any other comments?
Brad Richards. First off, I want to congratulate, we now have 3 elected Page County supervisors. That is absolutely awesome. I listened twice to the last meeting from the lady in Des Moines. And the big question I have is, I listened to it, then listened to it again. And what I got mainly was, if there was an error and that error needed to be corrected, that is what is to be done, not necessarily striking stuff out just because you or Judy doesn't want it. It's if there is an error. So in the future, what I would like to see you guys do is, when you are approving your amended minutes, find out what the error is. Tell us what was the error that you're correcting. Because that's what she made that comment several times, and that's why I went back and listened to it. And one last thing, if I ever told you to shut up or called you a name, I would fully expect to be told to sit down, and that's totally not expected in this setting. I think that should be for everybody. And I would, if I was disrespectful to you, I would sit down immediately if you told me. And I hope as chairman, you will start enforcing that for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? If not, JD, engineer update. Before JD starts, I will clarify one thing. I don't know any time where I've told anyone to shut up. And the IPIV, director, the lady in Des Moines, Director Eric Eckley from Des Moines, yes, of the Iowa Public Information Bureau, discussed at length the to me code, which is the actions taken, not conversations. She even read the actual opinion, which you're welcome to get on the IPIB's website. I think it's the last opinion, the most recent one done, and read that. And you can read it word for word. She quoted from the opinion. It will clarify it for you. Thank you, JD. Now go ahead. Just answer that real quick. Go ahead, JD.
Good evening, JD King, Page County Engineer.
Yeah.
Pleased to be here in the evening. It's obviously evening this evening. Daylight. The engineer update went out Tuesday afternoon. We're all on rock with 4 trucks earlier in the week, and we've reduced that. And I guess this is the last day of the week, given the observance of Veterans Day. I appreciate that. The blades are out working. We've got 2 mowers in the north and northwest part of the county. We've been mowing with the skid steer brush mowing along M48 or old 208. And we're doing other small tasks around the county. A couple motor graders were scheduled in the shop this week for service. The last part needed for the number 2 fix motor grader is in Atlantic, and they should have that back to us next week. We got money from our auction service Purple Wave, and the equipment that was sold is about to go out. Although I would say there's one item of equipment that was sold, but the money, they didn't pay for it. So if they don't get that money, then we'll just put it up on another auction. It was a truck. The pre-construction meeting for the bridge on 190th Street in the M56, there east of Andy Audie's near J Avenue over the middle of Tarkio River, was held last Friday. United was a contractor. That, of course, contract's fully executed. And we anticipate a start date of 20 November, a couple Mondays from now. The detour that will be signed is using K Avenue on the east side of the bridge, 170th to go east and west, and then Ironwood on the west side. And we've freshened up that rock. Doing normal project development for future projects. The Essex Bridge.
Producer from here in Los Angeles. How did your family react to you coming on the show?
Can somebody mute?
Yeah.
You're not muted. If you're zooming in, you're not muted.
The county
Thank you.
placed rock for the river access there at the bridge, and while it says we were waiting at the beginning of the week, they did show up today. They've got several days worth of seed in motion. The next 2 items are on the agenda. I'm not available next Thursday evening. And then I do have one comment about the US 59 detour. We got some we got the DOT to pay for some dust control. And then I requested another series of dust controls on A Avenue, and the vendor of dust control product did get that request, and they should put it on early next week. So that'll be an ongoing challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked to them, the DOT people, about putting another detour sign at AA or J14 further north in Page County to get them off the gravels, or try to get them off the gravels.
Right.
The questions for the update.
The bridge on J 53, what's the new bridge?
Waiting.
Still waiting? Do you have any idea how long to grind that?
No, I call the guy every couple of weeks.
Okay. Something I've been thinking about that we talked about a while back, I think you got figures on it, we can kind of think about, the bridge out there by Northborough, there's a bridge that's out by Greens.
Yes,
There's one idea we were talked about a while back, maybe we can find some of the money, some of the ARPA money and some money you might have in bridge money to maybe put that bridge in to think about. You guys it's one that's really hard to fund. Because we don't have any other way to get funding for that.
correct.
So that's something I've been thinking about, if we want to look into what money's left there. It's a bridge out there. And then, I had a call on, grading while it's too dry the other day, grading.
It's plenty dry.
Yeah, I don't know, Paul, what's going on right now with that? What do you think on that?
Well, if we don't need to be out there, we shouldn't be out there.
Okay. And then the striping, we have pictures we got today of that striping up here on Stanton Road. What is the plan for that? That is, where it's not striped. How soon, can we get those orange markers they stick down to start with before the striping comes?
We could, I plan to do some pavement maintenance on that next season. It'll be a proprietary fog seal, and then that'll turn it black. And so I want to wait to paint till then.
How far is the sections that have nothing? Is it I've not driven it and paid attention to that here lately. We had those
According to
pictures.
Mr. Wagner, it's about 3/4 of a mile. It's poor.
Could we not get those things they stick down temporary, or do we have those?
We can investigate those.
That'd be something for next year. We can see the center of the road or
Correct.
start. I'd like to look into that research those things they stick down until they get it painted.
Right, little reflector things, yeah.
If you guys see the picture.
Yeah, I did see. the
I have
pictures.
had more than one phone call on that in the dark coming from the north, and they say can't see the road, it's raining, can't see where the lines are at all, so maybe research that. How
Yeah.
quick we can figure something out. You guys have any?
Yeah, I mean, if we could do something before next season,
If it's temporary.
that would probably be
Okay,
better than nothing, but yeah, from the pictures, it looked pretty bad you can definitely tell there's nothing there, marking wise. And I'd hate to have somebody have an accident out there.
Right, just over some temporary markers, and we know about it.
okay, if we could turn your attention to the next agenda item, the utility permit, show the map. Indicator there at 265th, the rural water folks, the mains on the south side, they're gonna bore the service line underneath the road, so I just need approval for that
Okay,
utility permit.
item A, you guys see that? I'll make a motion on that.
I move that we approve that utility permit for rural water on 265th.
Okay, Judy's made a motion,
Second,
Todd seconded. Any discussion? Use roll call that, please.
We don't need to go with that.
I think I'd like to do that, just so I don't forget it. If you please do that.
yes,
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 okay, motion carried. All right, next item, go ahead.
Next item is a rock petition for K Avenue. Corey, do you have any photographs here? So this is the south end of K, just north of 130th. The next picture, please. And there's the north end of the petition portion of the road, showing the two addresses there. We did improve that. If you'll notice on the highlighted paragraph, if the petitioner is paying for the project and there's no extra right of way or other shaping needed, we don't need all the landowners, just the subject ones. And they are both here this evening. We did several years ago, we regraded this and replaced the pipes. So we probably, based on their schedule, or this is what I understand, once the funds are in the treasury deposited, we'll put rock on, but probably not this fall because of the conditions and the lateness. Rather wait till the spring. The petitioners are both here. And they'll tell you what's going on there.
Okay.
Good evening, I'm
Hi.
Sarah Skidmore, this is my mom. Susie Williams.
Yeah.
So she currently owns, the 73 acres. On K Avenue, right behind Katie King on 130th. She is selling, my husband and I, 33 acres of it. And we plan to put a house out there, and she's also putting a house on her 40 acres. We plan to share a driveway so that my husband and I can maintain the driveway and her yard and our yard. So that's why we're going to share a driveway. The 911 addresses are already out there. And then, like JD said, he doesn't want to put the rock down and then blade it off with the snow.
Right.
So if we wait till spring and put it on where there's no risk of that happening, it'd be better condition on the roads.
And that's about the only way we can get in is a dirt road. So
Right.
if it's muddy, we don't.
Right.
We have
Yep.
Katie King on the south, we have Randy Quest on the north. So there's no other access with a
Yep.
driveway to get in there. So currently, if it's muddy, we don't go to the
Right.
farm.
Yep.
So,
I understand. I used to live where it turned to dirt right at our mailbox. I know what you're
Okay.
talking about.
the only thing I would suggest maybe, we did get an address of Breda. So I don't know if the mail carrier would have to go, go all the way around the septon to get to our mailboxes. I mean, I'm sure Randy Quest would love to have you gravel the whole road, but I don't know how that'll work.
What's the distance, the rest of the distance, JD, just so we can think about it or know what it is? Where JD go?
What they're doing is 1,850 foot.
What's the distance to connect to the next road? Or to the next intersection?
Half of, I mean.
Another quarter.
mile and a half, so if it's
So
That'd be
another,
Quarter mile or, you did 18 or it's over
well,
a
your
quarter mile.
driveway's not at the end of your property though,
no, pretty
but
good.
pretty close, yeah. It's about half.
Yeah. Well, I know the rock petition is good. I'm sure we can talk about that. That's, you guys are taking care of
And
what
we
you're supposed to.
understand that
yeah.
until we pay for it, it's not going to be put down
Right.
anyways, but JD and I have talked a little bit about, just have it graded off.
I'm very good at.
Which flavor do you want?
Sorry about that. There's more people unmuting somehow. So, well, we understand what's going on here. We understand the rock petition to
So they
their,
want 1,850 feet?
yeah, and they're paying the
So-
first pass and then we take care of it. Yes.
Okay,
And I think it's great you're building houses out there.
yes.
Thank you.
definitely.
Thank you.
For doing that. And, so on the rock petition, as far as that goes, what we got on the agenda, we need a motion to do this.
I'd make a motion,
If you guys are good.
Go ahead.
you good
Yeah.
with what you're saying?
I'd make a motion that we, approve this rock petition.
I'll second that.
I think a motion and a second, any discussion on that? Vicky, roll call please.
Mayor,
Yes.
Holmes.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Yes, we'll do
Thank
that.
you. All right.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You can see on the map there, the red is 1,850 feet, which goes up
okay, yeah,
to, that 40. So it'd be more than a half mile coming down from the top.
yeah. Okay. Okay, well, on the agenda there. Next up, we have number 6. I'm Wagner, can you hear?
Tom Wagner. Those photos that I sent this morning, I did respond to, Todd's email about those photos might have been a little confusing. I explained to him the sequence in which I took them. I didn't to Judy or Jacob, but those photos, I was southbound, and as you come over the crest of the hill, Montgomery County into Page County, that's where you can see the no markings because of in the project that was removed last year.
Yep.
And placed back, and then as you make the transition from in the project to the typical normal section of the roadway, those markings are almost impossible. You really have to look, and at times you can't see them. I mentioned to JD 2 weeks ago that when you're northbound, you can actually see the markings, but you cannot southbound until 3/4 of a mile south of the county line. There's that no passing zone. And at that point, then the center line marking is visible. The end of the project has been that way for a year, so that's one of my concerns when I hear about the county being at risk in this room. I have brought that up. Nothing in the past, it's been a year, nothing's been done. I think that is, I think it's alarming that there has not been any sense of urgency on that. And if there's going to be JD sent that email about a seal, fog seal or a seal coat. Before that's done, I think a tour should be made of that project. Other projects have been toured. My understanding, that one has not. There's some issues on that I'd like to discuss at a later time. Tonight, I'm on the agenda for one thing, and I was accused in last week's meeting, it was alleged that I bashed Supervisor Clark. And I did send Supervisor Clark an email about that. I received no response. And so I guess I would like to ask, when I make the comment about the county at risk, how is that bashing? And then I also commented on expenditures of the Page County Secondary Roads Department. If there was a person that did not understand what I was presenting, if you could not have answered that, I wish you would have contacted me. I would have been very happy to clear up any questions. And so I'd like to be on the agenda here in the future with the numbers that I presented. So there's no question to the public. When I make a statement about wasted tax dollars, I do have the facts. I do have the figures. I have the emails. And I made the statement 2 weeks ago. If anybody, news media, public, if they want to see those emails, if they want to see any of that information, I have that available. And so I'm here tonight to ask why or what did I do to bash you, Supervisor Clark?
I don't really believe this is the time or the venue to discuss
Okay,
those things, Tom.
but it was a time and venue last week to make that statement as a board supervisor at a board meeting. Is that correct?
I did make the statement, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I just believe that this is a public meeting for county business,
Yes,
and I don't think that this has any place.
would you want to meet sometime and explain to me?
Sure.
I'll get you my number.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. We got number 6 done, number 7, with the wind ordinance draft, and we've got sent some more stuff to Carl, and he was actually gonna be here tonight, but he's sick. So, a reminder here, all this stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know, I saw the email about the lighting.
Yeah, he has
Did
that. It's
Did
in
he
the,
get back to you on that?
I know, I didn't ever check. I never
He's
saw that
sick.
yet.
He's been sick today.
Yeah, it's in the,
Yesterday.
Okay,
I just said, just get that in there when we can. I did see somebody over, is it Shenandoah today, we were talking about things, like, could we see the draft? I would like to get that as soon as we can, so we can, we're really close, even if it's, so we can get to the point we
Yeah.
can read it. I guess a couple questions from last week. Did anybody see any number on liability insurance, how high that should be? With I do not think it's high enough. I saw other counties at 10 million, 20 million, I mean, a higher level for as many dollars and much risk as there is there. Right now, it's at 3 to 6 million.
I would think at least a minimum of 10.
Yeah,
I don't know that the,
plus it's not to exceed or an aggregate, because the total project is I mean, I don't know how many turbines there'd be. If there was 100 turbines and they were $3 million a piece, it'd be a $300 million project. 3 million doesn't sound like enough. That's, need to dig in. Did you see any of that liability information, Judy? Did you see anything on that? Trying to find a number there. That's my, and dust control, like we were just talking about, dust control in this
Yeah.
rerouting of, I know we've talked about that in the past, and I was trying to see if it ever made it in here.
We added that.
Is it in there? I have it in my
Well,
notes
I
here.
think it's, yeah,
Trying to make sure we got everything,
and,
that if there's a,
I just started looking through it since he sent it to us.
you know,
But I thought it'd be good to go through this and, you know, make sure that everything and kind of reschedule for next week. And hopefully Carl will be feeling better and he could join
if
us.
he's here, I think we can finish it,
And yeah, I think we too, yeah.
but. And the proper daily fine, that's the other thing we talked about last week. Again, I wanna know what we agree on, what we think a proper fine would be if they don't obey the designated haul routes. I mean, that's, can we find any numbers on that? It's gonna have to be a fairly real fine that they will respect. They don't, we had this happen before.
I was assuming that we put a number to that
Well, I think I've got written down
on fines.
$1,000 fine if they don't follow the whole route. I don't know.
Is that what we added? Did we change that? I was
So
trying,
I've got wrote down here. So
Okay.
I just wanted to see if anybody figured
Yeah.
anything else out about that. Yeah. Any more concerns? I guess we're gonna do that next week, Carl, if he's not here. You need to look into this week. Any concerns, Cindy?
I'm Jacob.
yeah, I would just, you know, just say, let's go through this rough draft that he sent us. Make sure that we're, if we have any questions at all, then next week we can talk through it and hash it out and try to finalize it next week.
Okay. Okay, down the end roads there.
You know, if there's some numbers that need to be filled in, you know, take a look at those and so we can get an agreement on
Yeah.
what those need to be.
Well, then, maybe next week, even if we're hunting one more thing, we go ahead and maybe post, we could stick that up on the website, just so people can look at it. So if there's anything we haven't caught, we can quick get this dealt with and then get it onto the actual hearings.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can put it up and say it's unofficial,
Yeah, just a draft.
rough draft.
Unofficial, look it
and
over.
If people want to comment or they
Yeah.
want to, you know,
Okay,
send us.
hopefully it works out next week then, I get here. Well, then if we're done talking about that right now, the next step is number 8, we have Jan Norris here to give a carbon pipeline update.
Good evening.
Hi, Jan.
I'm Jan Norris. Just the mic so I don't blast everybody out here. I'm Jan Norris, West Township in Montgomery County. Thank you for letting me update you on the carbon pipelines tonight. In an effort to keep this as brief as possible, I have emailed each of you a report including all of my sourcing, but I have given you a few handouts this evening. Originally, there were 3 pipelines proposed in Iowa: Summit, Navigator, and Wolf. In October, Navigator officially canceled its project. The company has not made any statements on what they will do next, but are lobbying at the federal level. Their business model is very different from Summit's. What is next for them is only speculation. In Illinois, Wolf's project is still moving through the review process, but their Commerce Commission staff has recommended it be denied. One Earth Energy is proposing a new CO2 pipeline crossing 2 counties of Illinois. In North Dakota, Summit's initial application was denied, but a recent article say they are submitting new details. Oliver County denied Summit's injection well permit, and a foreign advisory law investigation was requested. Now, the North Dakota Farm Bureau wants to participate in a lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of governing the use of underground pore space. The South Dakota PUC upheld county ordinances, and Summit's initial application has been denied. They intend to reapply and have moved staff to Aberdeen to try and mend fences. Summit CEO Bruce Rastetter announced that the launch of its planned CO2 pipeline project will be delayed 2 years. Initially planning to have the project operational in 2024, it has faced a number of setbacks, causing a delay. The Iowa Utilities Board evidentiary hearing concluded last night when Summit waived their scheduled rebuttal. The hearing reconvened on Monday after a month break and 8 weeks of testimony, most of which has been landowner witnesses. Never have I seen so many grown men moved to tears. Before the change in IUB chair, the hearing was also supposed to include a public comment period. Summit will need additional permits. They have withdrawn 2 air quality permits. They have only filed for 2 out of the 13 DNR water permits, and they haven't filed for any wastewater permits. Multiple Southwest Iowa landowners participated in the IUB hearing, some as witnesses and others with pre-filed testimony. Video replays can be seen on Bold, Nebraska's YouTube channel, and transcripts are available on the IUB Summit docket. A motion asking for a public comment period to accommodate non-landowner participation was denied. Volumes of documentation have been generated by the hearing. As of the first of this week, 6,600 pages of transcripts, 650 hearing exhibits, thousands of pages of pre-filed testimony, and thousands of objections, comments, and additional documentation have been filed on the docket. As the hearing concluded last night, declaring it was the longest hearing in the history of the IUB, they set a post-hearing schedule. The final meeting transcripts will probably be available in 2 weeks. After that, the hearing briefs will be due in 6 weeks with a limit of 150 pages each, with an additional 15 pages per Exhibit H landowner. Reply briefs are then due 3 weeks after that, and the board will review all the documentation and consider a conclusion, then issue an order. They did note that no time frame for the decision will be given. They could deny the permit, they could approve it with the use of eminent domain, or they can approve the permit with eminent domain and issue conditions with it. If approved, the eminent domain, Summit will still have to go through every county's condemnation process. They will also have to obtain other permits, such as road crossings, conditional use permits, and water crossings. Whatever the outcome, it is likely to go to court. Recently, we have learned about the amount of water the CO2 capture process will require. Investigation has revealed that 13 individual LLCs have been filed with the Secretary of State. Shenandoah SCS Capture LLC is one of them. Two of these have filed for DNR well water permits, one for 55 million gallons a year and another for 27 million gallons a year. The first was approved with what appears to be no real investigation on the DNR's part. A suit has been filed to challenge it. The second permit is being processed and recently had a public hearing. As you are aware, Shenandoah is already observing water restrictions due to drought. What strain might an additional up to 50 million gallons of water put on our aquifers? This next legislative session is likely to see more activity with the pipeline associated. More legislators have been paying attention or even filed to intervene, and we could see pressure to pass property right protections and clarify jurisdictional control. Please contact your legislators and see if they will stand with landowners to protect them from private companies utilizing eminent domain. Questions are starting to be raised as to who exactly is working on behalf of Iowans. The DNR issued a water permit without following their normal procedures. The Office of Consumer Advocate neglected to perform an analysis of economic benefit. The state Senate refused to bring committee the eminent domain bill the House passed, and the new IUB chair accelerated the earlier published schedule for the hearing. Shelby County has been out front in protecting its citizens' interests. Steve Kinkle put together a list of things he's learned and wanted to share with other counties, and he has some good advice. Summit must file for permits for road crossings in every county. Some savvy counties have examined and updated their policies to ensure better oversight and reconsidered fee structures to recoup county expenses. Some counties have even told Summit to wait to file applications until they have a permit in their hand from the IUB. Please review what Page County's policies are and if supervisor oversight is desired. PHMSA, the federal regulatory agency, recognized that after the Sartasia, Mississippi accident, that pipeline rules specific to CO2 will be necessary. They are drafting new regulatory standards and anticipate the first draft will be out next year. In September, PHMSA issued a letter of clarification saying, quote, local governments have broad powers to regulate land use, including setback distances, end quote. Bold Alliance held a webinar with their attorneys to review and discuss the letter. During Q&A, they were asked about county ordinances. The advice was to get an ordinance in place now. It can be amended as needed if more information comes to light. Carbon pipelines are dangerous. The CO2 rupture in Mississippi proved CO2 is heavier than air, is toxic, and an asphyxiant. People up to a mile away were injured, some of them permanently. Summit told Kasuth County that local first responders will only be responsible for blocking off roads and determining wind direction until Summit can get there and establish a hot zone. Summit claims it won't hurt you unless the CO2 concentration is 50,000 parts per million, but OSHA won't let workers be exposed to 30,000 parts per million for more than 10 minutes. Summit has continued to refuse to share plume modeling. In IUB hearing exhibits number 641, an engineering professor in St. Paul, Minnesota presents information on 8-inch pipelines, which is the diameter that Page and Fremont counties will have. Page 25 of his report states, quote, what we learned from the Navigator Public Utilities Commission hearing is that Navigator's non-worst case scenario risk modeling for an 8-inch pipeline showed a hazard distance of 1,855 feet at 40,000 parts per million concentration of CO2. Navigator's plume dispersion model supports this claim. The HGS hazard levels identify a scale of 1 to 4. 40,000 parts per million is a level 2 hazard that poses an, quote, immediate threat to life, could cause irreversible or delayed adverse health effects, or interfere with the ability to escape it, end quote. All of the Page County route is a level 2, except for those who live within 400 feet, like the people who live in Marty Maher's house. They are a level 4, which gives them, quote, a significant likelihood of death, end quote, in only 10 minutes. How many of our neighbors will be in this level 2 plume and have to wait for Summit employees to come to the rescue, predictably from more than an hour away? How many could lose their lives within 10 minutes of a rupture? A map that I've included in your handouts was provided in hearing testimony that shows at least 3 structures in a level 4 zone in Page County. By not implementing an ordinance to create a buffer zone, these families do not stand a chance. I contacted a friend who is familiar with the Aloha modeling software to run a scenario on Shenandoah so that you could better visualize what a rupture out by the wastewater treatment plant might look like. Bear in mind, this is only an estimate based on the inputs she used for other counties. This map shows a good part of the city, about 1.5 miles, being affected by 5,000 parts per million concentration or more. It looks like most of the downtown is included in this yellow section. Imagine if the map were just moved south to show the Pella plant or other high population locations. What are other counties doing, you might ask? Many have either passed or are working on passing hazardous liquid pipeline ordinances. Some setbacks from homes are 1,000 feet, others are 0.5 mile, and one is even 3,000 feet. And most include a 2-mile limit from the city limits. And in Sioux City, just this week, they passed a resolution opposing CO2 pipeline construction and operation. I know you are currently working on a wind ordinance, and I saw a presentation by Mid-American saying they are allowing a 1,200 to 1,500 foot setback from wind turbines, and those are not even deemed hazardous. Some hog confinements even have a 3,000 foot setback just to mitigate the nuisance. I believe Page County has engaged Allers and Cooney attorney Tim Whipple to help draft the hazardous liquid pipeline ordinance. I know you are knee-deep in the work on the wind, but I urge you to pursue a pipeline ordinance as soon as possible. Summit is not only threatened, but has sued other counties who have passed and are enforcing a pipeline ordinance. However, as time goes by, more information has become available to urge moving forward. PHMSA has issued a letter clarifying that the county can establish setbacks. Navigator's plume modeling in Illinois is now available. The hearing has produced evidence to better help identify the threat. The IUB hearing is now over, and the Shelby County court case is just 2 short months away. I implore you to get moving on a local ordinance and establish setbacks for the citizens of Page County. The clock is ticking. If the IUB grants Summit a permit and you do not have an ordinance in place, anything passed will not be enforceable to this project, only to the next one, essentially grandfathering Summit in. So please get an ordinance in place, then see what comes. It can always be amended or even rescinded if necessary, but no option is available if you miss the window. If I understand things correctly, the board would need to ask your Planning and Zoning Commission to work with Tim Whipple to prepare a hazardous liquid pipeline ordinance draft. Then this board would need to hold 3 public hearings and vote to adopt it. In comparing the IUB schedule to the calendar, it looks like the earliest they could render a decision would be the end of January. That gives you 11 to 12 weeks to complete an ordinance. Of course, it makes sense to confirm all of this with your county attorney and outside counsel, Tim Whipple. He has been participating in the IUB hearing representing other counties, so he's well versed on it. Summit Carbon Solutions is the devil we know. They are the first to want to build a CO2 pipeline in Iowa, but we are told more will be coming. Right now, only the northwest corner of Page County and the city of Shenandoah are affected. But if the next project goes east, it could possibly cross your entire county. It won't take long to wish an ordinance had been passed when you had the chance. If you really question whether these CO2 pipelines are dangerous, please take half an hour and watch the video, the link that I provided to you, it's released this week, reviewing the plume modeling, and the pipeline companies don't want you to know. Then you'll understand why people who are informed are so concerned. I'll close with reminding you of Iowa Chapter 331. The supervisor's duty in part says, quote, to preserve and improve the peace, safety, health, welfare, comfort, and convenience of his residents, end quote. Passing a hazardous liquid pipeline ordinance would satisfy your duty. Thank you. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, that was pretty well done. All fair.
Yeah, I appreciate all the stuff you sent. It's gonna take a while to get through it all.
Yeah, I know.
But,
It's volumes of information.
You've definitely done a lot of research, and I did hear on the way over here that the hearing had ended today,
Mhm.
so. Yeah, I think this, just having the plume modeling and then thinking about the water and some of those new things that weren't really talked about when we first started looking at it.
Mhm.
Has definitely given us something to think about as far as.
We could investigate it. I'd lost track of when, because things were, I thought, closed. Now we need to maybe investigate this and reach out and see what our options are. I've talked to some supervisors from Shelby County, well, I did talk to Steve Kinkle once, but I talked to another one that's up there and visited about this, and been different ideas on what the right way to do it, to operate, because whether or not a county can pass an ordinance about this, that's what caused the lawsuit. And we can about certain things, but what's the question to this specific issue? And then there's things here that say you can, and I told you can't, so we can investigate this deeper. And maybe reach out to them, I might reach out to them again.
But just to clarify with the Shelby County case,
Yeah,
they passed it last November, And then in January, they were talking about how many fines Summit had already accrued because they were not following it. And the next day, Summit filed for an injunction to stop accruing those fines because they were approaching $100,000. And then early this summer, a judge granted them the injunction so that they don't have to follow the ordinance. They don't have to pay the fines, accrue the fines until the federal judge makes a decision. That court date has been set for January 15th and 16th. And who knows when the judgment will come back. But it's a little confusing because there's an injunction that the judge spoke about this summer, but that's not the final thing. That's just to stop the fines from accruing, essentially.
And you had the list of counties that have done ordinances. I saw that.
And I was gonna say, I did reach out to Tim Whipple just to ask what his thoughts were on some of this, and he did reply back and added Carl to our email chain. And basically, you know, he understands that it's tempting to go forward especially since South Dakota canceled the storage facility and the FEMA letter that was sent out. But he actually said that he would wait till consideration in the 8th Circuit Court of the Iowa Supreme Court, and then continue to believe that any county in Summit footprint that adopts an ordinance will be sued unless Shelby County or one of the other counties prevails first. So he's still saying we should wait, but he did say that it's, you know, it depends. He thought probably we would get sued if we started working on or passed one, I guess. Before the state permit issues, which could be in the next 6 weeks. But said ultimately the decision whether to move ahead is still a county specifics calculation that involves carefully weighing the legal risks, your finance resources, and local political imperatives. There are no risk-free options. So that's spoken like a true lawyer.
Kind of like getting out of bed in the morning, huh?
Yeah. So
now it's the lawyers I've talked to, consulted with on it, they have said, you don't really start incurring costs from being sued until it goes a little further.
Yeah.
So you could always rescind it before it gets too costly.
The other thing I thought of, you know, we've kind of been operating under this moratorium for wind until we got our ordinance done. Is that something that we could put in place and say, you know, 180 days moratorium on hazardous pipeline? That would give us time to work on an ordinance, or at least protect us enough to, if something happened in between then, that we'd at least still have that moratorium. But I don't know. That's something that we'd have to talk to Carl and legal about.
Yeah, would it reserve your ability to do
an ordinance,
right?
You know, if
because
something happened in the short term, yeah.
What they were explaining at the Montgomery County meeting yesterday, like technically a moratorium just means you're supposed to be working on the final ordinance. It doesn't mean you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
It means that you're supposed to be working on an ordinance, so maybe that would work.
It'd give us some time anyway, so.
Can you forward that?
From Tim,
email?
yep, I can, I'll forward to both of you. So,
Yeah. If we didn't know whether or not we could do this, if we have one prepared, it wouldn't be very hard to. Like when we get down to the wind orders, it's gonna be pretty quick to put it, we can then get to the next step, so we need to maybe investigate this.
Yeah, and there are a lot of counties that are working on it or have worked on it.
Right.
And there's a lot of good information out there to use. So
maybe investigate that a little more.
I think it's fine maybe to work on it, but I don't want to get in another lawsuit at this point.
yeah, no, I don't
I think
either.
we're busy
That's,
enough right now.
but I was wondering, that's why I was wondering about the moratorium, if you could just say that, and then that gives us plenty of time to work on it, and I would think that would stop anything from dropping in on us. At least we have something in process, maybe it's not done or it's not completed yet, but And by that time, who knows how it's all gonna pan out through the state, through, you know, so.
400 feet from the house with these models.
Yeah, which is, you know, that map that I showed you has all those little dots on there. Those are all structures that are within the 400 feet. Summit has said at multiple supervisors meetings, oh, we always stay 500 feet away. Well, there's proof that they do not.
Yeah.
Well, maybe another investigation a little deeper. With legal counsel, we'll do that, investigate it.
And I would definitely like to push that. I mean, I think several people have asked for their plume modeling and they haven't given it, so.
And the only way that
I mean-
what we have is through Illinois
Yeah.
and Navigators Project.
Okay.
Summit, even at the hearing, says they will not. In fact, Cassuth County last week, they asked the Summit representatives, do you have the plume modeling? Yes, we do. Are you going to share it with us? No, we're not.
And see, I definitely think Shenandoah should have access to that, if they're gonna be that close. So,
Yeah, anyone before they sign an easement should have had access to that.
right, absolutely.
But it's so awful that this video that I mentioned, they go through and dissect that plume modeling that they do have. It's so atrocious that they don't want you to know it.
How dangerous it could be.
Yeah.
If they have a.
Yeah,
leak.
so my neighbor Lori Johnson and her family have 10 minutes to get out of there, to get out of the plume. It's, you know, it's like significant likelihood of death.
Yep, and all that depends on wind speed and, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
you could-
all sorts of things.
There's a
Yeah,
risk,
air
but-
Yeah,
temperature.
they're gonna
wind
play
speed.
into it,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yep.
Well, you wanna, you got an
Yeah,
email
and I
already
think we
going?
have
Mhm.
another person that wants to speak.
Okay.
If that's all right.
Anybody else want to speak on this issue? Come on up.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes,
thank
thanks,
you,
Jen.
Yeah.
Good evening. I am Debbie Wheeler, a Page County landowner impacted by the Summit Hazardous Pipeline. The proposed pipeline route will divide our family farm of 78 years in two, running down the middle of our farm for the entire length of our farm. I have spent the last 2 years researching, attending meetings, lobbying at the Capitol, participating in local legislative coffees, and the IUB meetings in Des Moines. I have attended the PHMSA meeting in Des Moines and testified at the IUB hearing in Fort Dodge. I have done all I know to do. I began attending Page County Board of Supervisor meetings 2 years ago in person and through Zoom. At that time, the wind turbine issues were agreeably a pressing topic. We patiently waited for you to address this topic with utmost diligence. We have patiently waited our turn, but we are running out of time. Our last effort is now in your hands, Board of Supervisors. In September, PHMSA issued a letter stating local governments have broad powers to regulate land use, including setback distances. We need an ordinance to provide setbacks for our neighbors, our livestock, our wells, and our homes. It has been stated that nearly 60,000 to 90,000 miles of hazardous pipelines may follow this project throughout the Midwest. Your actions in passing an ordinance will protect our livelihood, our land, and our neighbors' well-being. The IUB ruled last night at the close of the hearing that a public comment period will not be allowed. This means that our nearby neighbors, 2 separate families, 2 separate homes, do not have a voice in this outcome simply because they do not own the land. Yet they live within walking distance of the hazardous pipeline. In addition, our renter, a family member of ours, also does not have a voice in the proceedings because he does not own the land. Yet he will be farming near and over the top of the hazardous pipeline. This land is just as much a part of his livelihood as ours, but he has no voice. These situations are true of many of our fellow Page County citizens. Time is of essence. If the IUB grants a permit to Summit and we do not have an ordinance in place, then any future ordinances will not be enforceable for this project. I urgently ask you to pass an ordinance establishing setbacks to protect Page County citizens, landowners, and neighbors. Thank you for your time and consideration. Our livelihood and well-being depends on you.
Well,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Jen, we understand that, and I think You want to say something too? Go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, I want to stop and cut you off there. Thank you.
I am Jim Getchenreiter. I am her cousin.
Okay.
That family farm has been in our family since before I was born. So I understand what she's saying. I'm here on behalf of Marty Maven. Pipeline runs through his ground and he cannot be here tonight. He had another engagement. So I'm reading this letter that he sent. Unfortunately, I am unable to attend tonight's meeting due to a previous commitment. However, after testifying at the IUB hearing in Fort Dodge, I have a few points to make. In a meeting of the Pottawatomie County Board of Supervisors on April 18th, 2023, a Summit engineer representative said when asked how close to someone's house would they install the pipeline, he said 500 feet or more to any residence. If it is less, we talk to the people and see if it is okay. Maybe try to move it. For the most part, we have 500-foot minimum. This is an occasional one-off, but we have made a lot of adjustments to stay 500 feet. I found that infuriating as there was no consideration in my situation. Additionally, there are 3 consecutive one-off cases in 4 miles in my neighborhood. Summit has never spoken to me or to the other residents about the 500-foot minimum. I have always been told, and it stands to reason, that when a pipeline changes directions, as in a 45-degree angle, it takes more pressure to move the contents inside the pipe. I was also shown a picture of the proposed pipeline plan just south of my farm on 110th Street. The pipeline comes from the south on Darwin Holmes' property, right next to his fence line. At that point, the design shows an 85-degree turn west to get to the proposed shutoff valve, approximately 200 to 300 feet west on the Gilgee farm. As it approaches the shutoff station, the pipeline makes another 85-degree turn north to get to the shutoff valve. After the valve, it crosses 110th Street and enters my property. This is the most irrational design I have ever seen for a pipeline. Other people would have made in the pipeline industry agree that the ridiculous nature of the design. So who should we believe? The pipeline engineer for Summit that said we cannot do unreasonable bends in the pipeline just to accommodate residents? Or should we believe the map that Summit showed to the IUB? I left the hearing with zero respect for Summit Carbon Solutions. The Summit representatives say one thing to the Board of Supervisors, but in reality, there is no truth to their statements, as their statements are not actually used in the field. You supervisors need to put in place an ordinance with the setbacks for residents. That is the only way to regulate these people. And please don't let them tell you that it will be too difficult for them to comply. On behalf of Marty Maher, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming in here. Well, we need to determine what we can do or not. If we can do it, a threat by somebody is not anything to stop us. If we can do this, threats should not make us
Right.
not do something. Let them threaten. So if it's right and we can, so let's reach out again and see what our options are legally, what we can do. And, you guys think that?
And have you read the PHMSA letter?
I have not, other than the ones on here.
Okay, so I think she sent, I think that is part of, we've got that in the email,
It's
yeah.
attached to this, I think.
And yeah, so that's good to read through that, so.
So I mean, we need to investigate this. There is people here in direct. We've talked many times when they've been here in the past, I've asked them, are you gonna use eminent domain?
Right.
If they don't use eminent domain, they can't do this to anybody. I mean, unless it's getting too close on the neighbor, but they've never committed to the fact they wouldn't use eminent domain either, so. And I've talked to our legislators about that. No eminent domain for private gain, so. What do you want to do? You started that chain, maybe reach out again, just let us, if you get some information, maybe next week we can talk about it.
Yeah, and I'll send that to you guys.
see what our options, our legal options are, what we can do.
I was waiting, I thought maybe Carl would probably send something out too, but I'll ask Carl. Cause I know Tim put him on that email chain. So, and all I was doing was just asking what he thought, you know, cause I knew that the hearing had been going on, and then I knew that South Dakota and North Dakota both have kind of canceled their storage things. Now there's some talk of them trying to figure out another place to do it, but, it doesn't sound like they've got a lot of traction. Seems like, you know, so.
We need to see what we can do.
But you know, this whole plume thing is very serious as far as, you know, the town and the industries that's right there. So and I think, you know, people need to know that before all of a sudden it shows up.
Well, I mean, some fresh information on this. Let's get some fresh legal guidance, I guess. So I'd be good with that. So
Okay,
we'll
well,
try to get that, maybe talk about it next week. We'll get some fresh information here. So I thought it had kind of almost been canceled up north. So that's what. We'll get some fresh guidance and look at it next week, maybe. The time is of the essence. We understand that. So we'll reach out, get some fresh information, and we'll throw it on next week, talk about it. Okay, we're good there, anybody else? We're good. We can go to number 9. Good, which is board communication. I mean, what's going on? Anything to talk about?
I did not have anything, but I do have, I think it's SWIPCO meeting coming up, I believe next week sometime. I just saw an email quickly. I didn't glance at it, but
On the canvassing,
That has to be done Tuesday.
yeah,
It has to be.
Monday, Tuesday, I read the code, it said Monday, Tuesday following.
They
is that
won't
right?
have, because the holiday tomorrow, they won't have everything done until Tuesday. So it has to be done Tuesday.
Or Friday, so
No,
I can work on.
No.
I'm saying-
Tuesday.
I'm saying tomorrow's Friday.
tomorrow's Friday, yeah.
Holidays tomorrow,
Right, yes.
well,
So Tuesday at 9 o'clock, we need to meet.
can that be in the
And two of
evening,
us-
Monday evening or
No.
no?
No, because they have to push it out to the other counties that are impacted by our canvas.
I think maybe there's a conflict of schedules anywhere, or.
It doesn't mean,
It can be two of us. It
but if
doesn't.
two of you can do it,
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
We could do a Monday afternoon, they'd be done with a Monday
No.
afternoon, like 4 or something like that.
It needs to be at Tuesday at 9 o'clock. The Commissioner of Elections has requested or has said Tuesday at 9 o'clock. She said it that. And that we have to go by that.
Well, the board of supervisors, she doesn't certify this, we do, so we gotta. make
You don't
sure-
certify anyway. This is a canvas.
We canvass it
This
here.
is a canvas and
So-
it's set Tuesday at 9 o'clock.
It's-
I used to set it. That's the way it is. That's
Always.
the way it goes. It's normally on Tuesday. Yes.
What time works for the board here? Is the,
I will not be able to attend. I'm sorry. I have a team that I'm leading at work. There's
9
no way.
o'clock Tuesday morning. Jacob, can you be there?
I don't know, I gotta look at that. We just got this information a few hours ago. I think,
I think she sent it out this morning.
earlier today. yeah.
Yes.
So, I don't know. Maybe we'll have to look at that. I think Monday afternoon would probably work. I think we could all 3 be there to canvass it. So,
Monday
guess we'll-
afternoon is not
Yeah.
what she said. She said Tuesday morning at 9. We need to respect the boundaries of the election. We need to respect them getting all the information together.
Is there a way though that she could work with us on scheduling?
yeah, so the
That
respective
or
board,
not? I
talk
mean,
about, we're gonna.
it still wouldn't work for me. So
Right.
during the day is not gonna work
Right.
Monday or Tuesday, neither one. So,
We can talk,
But-
we can send it to the Secretary of State and say that the
but I'm
supervisors
just,
would not make themselves available to do the canvas.
I was
So
just
then we
wondering,
could be
I
in
was
trouble.
just wondering if she could, if we could work on it.
Find a time that works for
That,
everybody.
that works for everybody.
It's
That's,
always, Jacob has sat in on canvases before and they're always Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock.
We're just trying to figure it out. It's not
I
a
know,
big deal.
but
Just Sitting here talking. about it.
Melissa has said Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. She's the election commissioner.
Yeah, well, we'll
And
look
that's-
into that. I'd like
that's-
us all to be there. to do it. So it's
That's
just
what
like-
it needs to be.
yeah, but I'm just telling you now that I will
Right.
not, I will
You
not.
said you couldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah. because you had something at work.
Yep.
As we go into the next topic, as far as respecting people in their elected positions, what happens, we go to the minutes. Last week, we had the director of IPIB clearly say the minutes belong to the board, clearly say that what their advice and what the things that are required to be in there are.
No,
So we need to respect each other in all areas, I agree. So next up on the agenda is the claims. Do we have any claims?
no, I got a couple things.
Oh,
This is
board
still board
communication, sorry.
communication. First of all, the next week, we have to do a second tier canvas, the
Right.
next week.
Oh.
So that, needs to be at 9 o'clock on the 21st,
That's okay.
okay?
So the only time.
And also.
I can make that one.
And also, Thanksgiving falls
On
falls
a
that Thursday.
Yep, yep.
So do we want to have our meeting that morning after the canvas? That Tuesday morning, on the 21st.
Well, we've got time to think about that.
Because otherwise I'm leaving town, so
Right,
that's,
yeah,
so, or we just.
or we just don't have a meeting that
week.
week.
Yeah.
Can happen.
Well, we've got a week to think about that, so let's think about that for the next week. We've got 2 weeks till then. So,
So on the 21st, what's that one for?
That's the second tier canvas.
Okay,
The state has changed everything and now we have to have two different canvases.
okay,
So that's the second one and it should be at 9 o'clock on the 21st. So whether we have our other meeting or not, you still need to be here on the 21st at 9 o'clock.
okay, we'll look into that.
And as
So-
far as board communication, I attended an interagency meeting on Wednesday, which is public health, Lion, Southwest Iowa Families, all of those. Very interesting meeting. We had a presentation on addictions, gambling addictions. Very interesting.
Like
So,
farming,
what?
like
Well,
farming.
yeah, right. Yeah.
The only gambling my math teacher said he would condone, so, no, okay. Anything else?
No,
All right. Okay, we got claims. I didn't see any. Heard any claims tonight? We'll skip it. Nope. Okay, we have, minutes here. Again. The board has spoken on this. I'm working on the policy, or maybe next week have that on the agenda. Another policy. We've already passed one. So here's what I got
again,
here.
I didn't make any copies either.
Okay, I'm here.
But they're fine.
There you go, hand one over here, Judy. Look the same here, so I'll give you the. It looks exactly the same. Here's, Judy, here's a copy.
thank you.
Okay,
Can I get
we
a
have a
copy?
motion on that.
Can you give Chris?
Can I
Yes, when we
get a
get,
copy? Can I
when I
get a
get
copy,
done,
please?
that's the last week, clarify that with the way this is written. Last week, until we pass it, they're nothing. We have to pass it, then I will give, like I did last week, I gave you the past minutes. Until we pass them, they're just things like we wrote on. So after we pass it, sure, I will make sure you have that. So do I hear a motion on the minutes, the amended minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the amended minutes per the Public Information Board guidelines.
Okay, I'll second that motion. When you're ready, roll call, please.
Mayor,
Yes.
Holmes.
Yes.
Clark.
No,
Okay. All right, well, we got that done. I'll make sure we get this over there again.
There you can have it.
Okay. Then we're to the easy one, number 12. Make a motion to
Okay.
adjourn.
Make a motion.
Got a motion? One second then, Judy.
I'll second it.
She seconded. We're adjourned. Thank you for coming. All right.